Good morning, my podcast friends. Well, as everybody would say, happy fall, y'all. I think we are now, even though here in Kansas, we're still pretty warm. I want to welcome you to the September podcast. Your host, Angie Hughes, coming to you every month, or at least when I'm not completely out of pocket and can't get to my microphone. We're going to just talk about kind of all things in the insurance industry and really truly either whatever pops into my head or as I go through the month, what kind of becomes pressing at the time. So who knows what topic it's going to cover. And this month, I actually have several different things around a lot of different insurance lines. So the one thing that today's the last day of September. And I know all of you know that September is Life Insurance Awareness Month. And it got me thinking because last week, myself and two other associates went into the corner of Kansas and we did a life insurance sales academy. And we had mostly property and casualty agents there, but we also had a couple of financial planners there, a couple of captive agents with New York Life. And, we absolutely love doing these types of events because it's a great way for us now that, we're all back out and traveling. We get to see people, talk with folks that we do business with every day, meet new friends. But what I think is always interesting is how much dedication that everybody gives to their profession, their craft, right? They're trying to hone their skills, and everybody wants to be this complete advisor. Whether you're doing your part in fulfilling the entire fiduciary rule for your clients, which I personally feel like we should all act as a fiduciary, right? We should always be acting in the best interest of our clients, um, giving them the best solution that fits for them. But from a property and casualty standpoint, they're risk advisors, right? They're home and auto and liability and umbrella policies and all kinds of things and business owner coverage and workman's comp and an array of different products that they have. And yet, when it comes to September and Life Insurance Awareness Month, I think it's interesting that we'll all take and at Producers XL, we're trying to regurgitate all the information that's out there from the various insurance companies that give the agent, give the advisor access to consumer facing materials so that you can run a campaign. And it was interesting to me that here in our agency, we have really started to embrace Chat GPT, not just to, everybody says, oh, yeah, it's a great way for me to put a spin on my newsletter. It makes it sound this way or it makes it sound that way. But what we've really started to use it for is we are building out customizable brochures. So we have one for Medicare. And that one has actually gone through CMS. They've seen it, they've approved it. It's a communication piece. It's been a really successful little brochure for us. I'll get to that later. But the one things that we just recently created I believe it's 4 different brochures. One of them was just, and we leave a spot on them where if the advisor wants to put, their logo, their contact information, but what we're trying to do is create non-carrier specific pieces that advisors can use when bringing up topics that maybe they're not accustomed to talking about. And when we think about life insurance, everybody says, oh, well, I mean, that's not a hard topic to bring up. No, it's not, right? Because we all know life is fatal. However, do we? Do we bring it up when it's appropriate, or are we all just creatures of habit and we get into our offices, we manage, the little emergencies or something that has to be taken care of right away? How much do we actually stop and think about a year? I mean, we're getting, I mean, we're getting ready to start the fourth quarter of the year. We should all be thinking about next year. Yes, we've all got annual enrollment for Medicare season. We've all got ACA season. We've got group health benefit reviews. I mean, believe you me, we're not shy of any work that has to be done in the last quarter. But in the same breath, we have to stop and think about, are we going to be intentional? Are we going to be intentional with what we're going to do? And are you comfortable making your clients, your customers, your prospects uncomfortable at some level? And what I mean by that is think about the product lines, right, that a BGA or an FMO, what they serve. So we serve touchy-feely. We serve life and health. We serve a non-tangible, a life insurance policy that gets either delivered electronically and now it's on a flash drive or stuck in an electronic folder on your computer that you never go and look at unless the inevitable happens, or a health insurance ID card that you only pull out when you go to the doctor. So, we have such a noble calling to help these families when they need the assistance, but how intentional are we at delivering thought-provoking ideas to them? For instance, if you're a property and casualty agent, and most of you want to drive to commercial business, you'd love to have a 70-30, 60-40 split where the majority of that is commercial lines. Do we ever think about the complete risk advisor to them? So I happened to be talking to a small business owner yesterday, and I said to her, hey, here in Kansas, you can opt out of workman's comp, correct? And she goes, yeah, as owner operators, we can opt out of that. And I said, did you? And she goes, yes, we did. And I said, why did you? Cost, of course, cost. And she goes, and quite frankly, if something happens to me here at work, I'm not going to sue myself. Yeah, fair enough. So how are you protected then? I mean, if you get sick or if you get hurt, who's going to come to the office and turn the lights on? Who's going to make sure that the clients that need to come in and ask questions or drop off premium payments or add a new vehicle or drop a child off of an auto policy? I mean, who's going to be in there to handle that? Some of us run really small agencies where it's just you. Others have a team of people, but it still doesn't negate the fact that if you're not the driver every day, right? You're the owner of your own business. How are you protecting yourself? And what I was driving to with this small business owner, because I know her very well, is I wanted her to tell me that she had disability income insurance. I wanted her to tell me that she had business overhead expense, and she does, in fact. So obviously, someone spoke to her. I happen to know who her property casualty agent is, so I'm not surprised she's not fully covered. So that's what I'm talking about. How comfortable are we at having an uncomfortable or potentially uncomfortable? I don't think they're uncomfortable at all. I mean, we'll all talk about life insurance and I mean, that's the end. But yet we won't talk about the things that could actually keep us from doing what we do every day. And this whole conversation just isn't about, disability or Medicare, or it's really about everything. Because I don't think there's one single advisor that I work with that's dedicated to one thing. I just had a Zoom call yesterday with a group of financial advisors that want to get back to being a complete advisor, which means we got to do a better job. We, meaning them, they want to do a better job folding insurance back in. They used to do a great job of that. Why did they quit? That was my question. Because it got too hard. It just got convoluted. What they had as a big breadth of life insurance products was whittled down to two. They didn't feel like, if it didn't fit that mold, then they just didn't have an outlet. Well, now they're ready to look and say, we got to do better. Life insurance, disability, long-term care, that's all a planning. Insurance plays a part of the planning process. Life insurance is a wonderful planning tool for folks for estate equalization, leveraging assets, charitable giving. There's all kinds of things for that. And and the one thing resource I gave to them was the director of planning said to me, "Hey, I had an advisor call and say, I've got this client. This is what the client looks like. This is what they are. How do I approach them?" Well, not leaning to one particular insurance company, but John Hancock on the life insurance side actually has, I don't know, it's probably a 10-page document, and it goes through all these different levels of clients. Like, do you have a client that has rental properties? Ask them these questions. There was at least 5 questions with each. Does your client have charitable donations? Ask them this. Does your client have children in the business? Ask them this. So it's a great way to go in, right? Because the whole idea about fact finding is really more of a discovery meeting, a discovery discussion, because nobody wants to be interrogated, but yet somehow we've got to find a way to uncover what's missing in the plan. And that's where your BGA comes in, where they got to have really good ears, because I've got to listen to what's being said to me and figure out what's the right solution. Everybody doesn't fit in one size does not fit all. And even in the clothing line, us ladies very well know that one size does not fit all. So I think it's really interesting through the Life Sales Academy that we had, with showing them some of these customizable little brochures. So we have one on a policy review, something as simple as a policy review. How many of us take the time to ask our customers, hey, do you have some existing life insurance? Maybe we need to do a review on that. At least check the beneficiaries. If you know your clients have had children, got divorced, bought a business, whatever the case is, life insurance reviews. And if you're selling an indexed universal life, these need to be annual reviews. So it was really interesting to me as we end Life Insurance Awareness Month. The two other gentlemen that presented with me, each one of them said to the audience, I want to leave you with this. I want to leave you with, when you've got a guy, got a gal, and you need to kind of kick the tires of underwriting, I want you to pick up the phone and call me. The other one said, I want to leave you with, something else. And I stood up there and I said, I want to leave you with intent. I want you to be intentional, and I want to help you put together an intentional plan, not because I want it to be cumbersome, but financial advisors do this, right? They do quarterly reviews. So one quarter they might look at assets under management. One quarter they focus on insurance solutions. One quarter they might look at something else. And so being intentional like that allows you to open up the diversity of what you offer. And what's the worst case scenario? You write more business, you place more business, you increase revenue by just simply asking the right open-ended questions. And the BGA that's supporting you through this should help you get to that point, so that, and I say this all the time, nobody wants to chase a parked car. Nobody wants that bloody nose. So your BGA should be helping you get to the point of, if we're looking at a survivorship life insurance policy for estate equalization, say for instance, we got to make sure that we've got some insurable risk, right? So field underwriting is critical in that. So we need to make sure that we're helping along the way. When the application goes into underwriting, if it hits roadblocks or hits speed bumps, navigating through them so that the experience, right? Most of us don't only focus on life, annuity, long-term care, Medicare, disability products, right? So it's on us, BGA, to make sure that you, advisor agent, has a good experience. Because like the financial firm I talked to yesterday, they weren't having good experiences. So they just quit. that wasn't in the best interest of their clients. So you have to have a good experience and your customer has to have a good experience. Now, we can only control so much from the insurance company to the customer, right? Because that's truly where the contract is held. So anytime for some reason, everybody wants to do these electronic drop ticket, electronic applications, just, throw it, stick it, and we'll see what happens. Usually never the best experience because what you're doing is turning all of that underwriting over to the insurance company. And I'm not saying they're bad. They're not bad people, but they're insurance people. And now you're putting them on the phone doing an interrogation of all the health history of your client. We've all had the experience where your client gets really ticked off because they didn't like the tone. They didn't like the questions. They didn't like the barrage. They felt like they were under an interrogation. So field underwriting, of course, plays a large part in that. So that's kind of what I wanted to say about Life Insurance Awareness Month. Through our Life Sales Academy, it was really interesting to me how we've already, that meeting was last Thursday. We've pushed out, what, 1, 2, 3, 5 different customized brochures for them in hopes, they're like, I want to put them up in my office. I want to have that there when I'm talking to my customers. I think that's fabulous. I'd love to take it one step further. I'd like to come to your office. I'd like to sit down with you and let's talk about Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and develop an actual strategy of we are going to be intentional for this product line. Disability Awareness Month runs in May. Let's make that a quarterly campaign. Life insurance, make that. Put long-term care in the middle of July, right? Put that in July for Independence Day because otherwise it falls in November and we're all too busy then. Not to mention the holidays really cut us short with Thanksgiving and Christmas, and you all need to spend time with your loved ones. Moving into the Medicare season, right? So technically tomorrow starts the time where you're all allowed to sit down and start looking at your clients' 2026 Medicare Advantage and prescription drugs. You can start October 1. You can't sell anything until October 15th, but you can at least start having those conversations and running drug plans. A lot of disruption in that space. A lot. This is going to be yet another bumpy year. And right, so I kind of have coined this year because it's just, the elephant in the room, AEP, to pay or not to pay, because so many of you are doing a really hard soul search of, am I going to stay in this space or am I not going to stay in this space? A lot of you are in rural areas. So, right, Medicare supplements, you don't have networks driving to a Medicare Advantage. So that means you're doing standalone drug plans. And quite frankly, it's all pro bono. That's all free work. So it was interesting to me, I've been pushing out a lot of content on the RSSA, that Registered Social Security Analyst, as a way to get a hold of clients when they're in their, early 60s, like before they're 62, because that's when people know they can start taking early Social Security payments. Go get that designation. Once you pass the test, and I cannot believe I actually have, I have one advisor that's actually she's ready to wrap it up right now, which thank goodness, because she's really busy during AEP. And I thought, wow, kudos to you, because that is a lot of work. She's going to go through that and complete it. And then what you do is you prospect for folks that are turning 60. So you have those conversations and you charge a fee for that Social Security analysis, far more than what you would ever get on a PDP commission. And then that way, when you've got them there, you've walked them through that, talked them through that, explained it, survivorship benefits, spousal benefits, what the incomes look like at various retirement ages, including full retirement age for Social Security. Then you get them for Medicare, and then we don't have to worry about that. But really, this whole AEP season 2, and I love it because in Rick's newsletter he put out, cross-selling is no longer an option. It is a priority. And, you guys know this. If you're in the Medicare Advantage space, you got to sell a hospital indemnity plan. You got to have something to pick up the $300 plus per day copay that they have if they're hospitalized and so forth. So wanted to reiterate, last month I talked about Mutual of Omaha's hospital indemnity plan. If it's approved in your state, because I think it's only in like 26 states right now, if it's in your state, And if you don't know, shoot me an email, Angie@producersxl.com. I'll send you the state approval. Take a look at that. It's not just your everyday run-of-the-mill hospital indemnity plan. And what I mean by that, and you all know I'm a long-term care nerd, it actually offers a nursing home and a home health care, and I know some of the others do as well. But it's very interesting how that plays out. And it's got a couple of other riders that are inside of there as well that for instance, built into the benefit is I almost said pet adoption. It's not pet adoption, it's pet boarding. You don't think about that, but when a senior has a pet and they go to the hospital and they happen to live alone, someone's got to take care of that pet. Nice to know you can actually board your pet. Um, Little things like that. But when you really start sharing the real life stories, because that is how people relate. It's the stories, the real life stories. And if any of you have lived 50 years on this earth, you've got the stories to tell, whether they be your own or they be a family member's. I mean, that's what resonates. And then the last thing I want to leave with you is some of you may be sitting out there saying, I, I need to be in that Medicare space. I don't know how. I don't know where to start. I really don't want to jump in. I don't have the time, but I do have the clients. We as a BGA, and I know that there's others out there that will actually come alongside of you as a partnership and get you in that space, do it for you, share back commissions until you're ready to take it over yourself. Think of it as your Producers XL Concierge Medicare desk. So if that's something of interest, again, email me, Angie@producersxl.com. Call me, 800-541-6705. I said that was the last thing. I wanted you to know that that long-term care annuity space is it has been tremendously exciting. We have a new entrant to that space. It was just announced today. Nationwide's coming out with a long-term care annuity. I have zero details on it, but here in a couple of weeks, I will have all the details on it. And I'm very much looking forward to making a splash with that because we've got two really great carriers that offer a long-term care annuity. And there is a lot of annuity money that sits out there that can be 1035 and transferred into this and give those folks tax-free dollars when they need to open that annuity and use it for long-term care services. So wonderful opportunities there. So much money sitting out there in non-qualified annuities as they come out of surrender. A lot of times we're just rolling them from MIGA to MIGA to MIGA or fixed to fixed to fixed to indexed. Don't overlook the opportunity to diversify some of that into a long-term care annuity to where, again, I want to repeat that because that is the sizzle to it, right? If you have it in a qualified long-term care annuity that's PPA qualified, Pension Protection Act qualified, when they take distribution of the funds out of that annuity, they're getting that money and not having to record it as income because it's a Pension Protection Act annuity. So even though there's gain in it, they don't have to pay the taxes on that if they use it for qualified long-term care services. So that's great tax deferral at its finest. So whole bunch of stuff I wanted to cover with you today, just kind of ping-ponging all the things that are running through my mind through the month of September. October's podcast will land on October 28th, just a couple of days shy of Halloween. So maybe I'll come up with something really spooky that we can talk about. Hopefully nothing bad spooky, but we will be in the throes of AEP, so that's probably spooky enough. With that, I want to thank all of you for joining me. Enjoy the recording as you listen on demand. I look forward to having you join me again in October. And like I said, kicking this off, happy fall, you all, and may the leaves change to beautiful colors in your area. Take care.